So today we are fixing an ABS roof on a pop-up camper. I've already done a bunch of spots, but I wanted to record one so that you could see it. So the first thing I did was I drilled 2 holes where the crack is. You want to stop it from cracking anymore, so drill holes in the end. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the Dremel and we're going to grind this out. Okay, so we're going to take a Dremel. Hopefully you guys can see this. It's got a little tiny ball bit. It doesn't really matter what bit you have. I use the ball bit because some of the cracks I was fixing before had, there were little tiny ones on like an edge like this. So I just went in. You don't always want to go all the way through if you don't have to. Like you're supposed to so the crack doesn't keep going. But if it's a little tiny crack, I was just going in like halfway so that way you didn't have to fill in the hole. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grind this out. Okay, so what I did was I ground out the crack. I didn't go too deep. I went a little deeper some places and a little lighter others. No big deal. But I also scuffed up all around it so stuff sits in here really well. So what we're going to do next is we're going to just wipe this down with acetone. If you look, it's already shiny. That's because I wiped it down to clean it first with acetone. Acetone melts ABS. So this is an ABS root. So what I like to do is just give this a good wipe because it makes it so it sticks really well afterwards. You can see it starts to glue up a little bit. So the next big thing, this is not white pepper as it says on here. This is roughly half acetone, half ABS plastic, and I'll show in a little while how you make this. I'm using 3D printer filament because all I have is black, so you're going to see it's very bright. But you really just want to make like a slurry with this, and you want to fill in that crack really well. I'm not too concerned about getting it everywhere because I plan on either coating this with bed liner or paint or something afterwards so it matches the rest. But basically you just take some. You really should have a mask on when you do this. Do as I say, not as I do. In the past people used mech and ABS plastic to do this, ABS pellets. You can't really get mech anymore. I think it's on like this list of something that will give you cancer, etc. So it's hard to get. You can get it at like marine supply stores, but it's hard to get. So acetone does the same thing basically. If I were to guess, it might evaporate a little quicker and dry a little quicker, so something to be aware of. But the gist of it is you just, and like I said, I'll show this in a minute, I took the ABS plastic. It doesn't have to be 3D printer filament either. It could be particles, what do they call them, the little pellets. It could be anything. I just had the filament on hand, so I used that. Like I said, it's black. You could use white or clear, and it would, you'd be able to see it better. So, moral of the story is, this works. So this, basically what I do is after I drill it out and everything, I leave it for 24 hours before you come back. You probably could leave it a little bit longer, and then you could probably sand it. I would say the ones that I left for 24 hours were definitely at the sandable point. Your mileage may vary on how long and how much acetone you use in this. Like I said, I've been adjusting mine as I go, and I would say this is probably 50-50 or a little more plastic than an acetone. So in a couple minutes I'm going to show you how to make this, but the gist of it is, if you have a big crack, drill out both sides. Unless it's a crack that's open to the outside, then there's not a whole lot you can do. You're going to have to fill it in. It might take a couple layers. Drill it out on either end, grind it out really good, and then clean it with acetone, and then put this on and just let it dry. Like, I'll show you in a second. This is going to be a little bit lumpy. That's okay. Like I said, you can sand it. I probably won't sand this. I want it to be a little bit stronger than what was actually there before. You can see a little line where it is. You could even put another layer where the line is that you ground out. I may not. It's pretty thick over here, so I'm not that concerned. I'll check this out after it dries. But like here, we're going to have to do that crack, and we're going to have to do that crack, and I'm going to have to drill either side. I won't be able to show you that one because there's not a whole lot of room to work here. So we're going to let that dry, and I'm going to show you how to make this in a few minutes. A few minutes for me, right now for you. Alright, so we're going to do this in our really dirty carport at the moment. I have not had a chance to clean this place in forever. So 3D printer ABS filament, like I said, any color will work. I like to cut it down so it fits in the jar. If you used a bigger jar, you wouldn't have to cut it down as much. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this into two things. Hopefully you can see all this. I'm making this for if I need more to patch. It takes probably only takes a few hours to do this, but I do it like a day in advance. I do some work, and then I cut up some more, put acetone in there, and then I leave it overnight, and the next day it's turned into the stuff I need. So as you can see, I'm just putting it in, cutting it down. Definitely use gloves to do this. It's going to be harder for me to get the second set in here. I might have to make it a little smaller. But second batch, I'm not too worried about contaminants in this either, because it's just going to be part of the plastic when it all dries. So it's up to you. You can be neat. I just don't care that much. So. Also, I don't really use my ABS filament anymore. I really only print PLA, so using this up for something else is not a bad thing. Also, this is quite a bit of filament, it looks like. But this will melt down probably to be half, give or take. Maybe a little bit more. So, get it in as best you can. If you have stuff sticking out, you're going to want to cut those down. Got a couple extra pieces here. Alright. Now, you can see how full that is. Alright, I'm not sure if that recorded, but what I did was I took the acetone, made a big mess, and filled that about halfway. Maybe a little more than halfway, but that should make a good slurry. And you can always add more ABS to this or more acetone depending on what you do, and then you can just close it up. Got to be careful. Use gloves when you're doing this. You can close it up and just shake it. I just shake it to get everything to start moving, but since we filled this up, you can see how it's cleaning the plastic off the sides, because this was pretty much black. So for now, don't smash it on the ground. Just let this sit. Like I said, I give it about 24 hours once you do this. So cut up your filament, put it in, or if you use an ABS pellets or something, just put them in. Like I said, try 50-50 at first. If you need it a little thicker, add just a little more filament or pellets. If you need it a little thinner, you can always add acetone, shake it up, and make it thinner. And it just becomes basically ABS glue. So like I say, most of the old things to fix these say use mech. Acetone seems to do the same thing. I did a lot of research just because I couldn't get mech to work, and I've done a lot of 3D printing and everything, so I knew that you could use acetone to melt ABS. So I figured it couldn't hurt to try. I ended up doing a couple pieces on the trailer, which I can show you one of the complete ones, and it worked great. So yeah, to fix your ABS topped pop-up, which the one I have, the top wasn't actually all that bad. So alright, so let's go outside and look at the piece that's already done. It's a little dark, so I'm hoping you can see it. Okay, so this piece is done. It might need a couple little touch-ups, but no. I'm seeing that in the camera. That's actually smooth right there. But more or less, it's not going to be perfectly flat or anything. That's why I'm going to cover it either with bed liner, or I might just paint it. I may just paint it either way, just because I don't really want to spend all the money on the bed liner yet. This piece was done about an hour ago. It's not 100% dry, but it's getting there. Ignore the dust, that'll come right off. But yeah, so this was a couple little cracks on the edges. I'm going a little wild, so that way it doesn't happen again. That's the bigger thing. But here, I could have removed this. I'm not going to actually use the awning on this because it puts so much pressure on the sides. That caused the crack here. And it caused it to splinter over here. This is actually still a little damp here, but I'm not going to touch it too much. But there was splinter cracks all along this area, and up here there was a couple, so I just filled it in. Like I said, I'm going to cover this. This is actually going to get a layer of silicone all the way down the edge. It already had some, but I could probably just also ABS glue this too, because I think this piece is actually ABS as well. So not pretty, and this thing needs a big cleaning before anything else happens to it, but I'm trying to just get the cracks sealed so I don't have to worry about it. And then hopefully in a video soon, we're going to be doing the seal on this. I took off the old one. I still have a couple little pieces that I got to get off. Hot heat gun to remove that, and then put a new seal on it. And then there's probably going to be some modifications to this thing. We got to make sure the lights all work. I know this light was working, but I'm not sure about a lot of the other ones. I already fixed some things on it off camera. This was broken. I just took it off. All the pieces were in there, so I just super glued them back together, and now it's solid. Yeah, and we tested everything else. Works good. So we're just going to fix this so that way we can use it for camping this year. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.